Men have long played a crucial role in society, but lately, some voices have been suggesting that we don't need men anymore. This sentiment is misguided and fails to appreciate the essential contributions that men make. Firstly, there is a misconception that men are not allowed to display vulnerability or show emotions. Society seems to suggest that it is not acceptable for men to cry or be weak. However, embracing one's emotions and acknowledging vulnerability is part of being human, regardless of gender. Moreover, certain scientific advancements have been touted as evidence that men are no longer necessary genetically or physically. It has been claimed that women can now impregnate themselves using their own bone marrow, resulting in only female children. While this may be fascinating from a scientific perspective, it does not render men irrelevant in society. In fact, men continue to demonstrate their importance in various ways. Consider, for instance, the skilled labor that goes into constructing cities. Men work tirelessly, from building towering edifices to maintaining intricate infrastructure like sewer systems and power lines. They subject themselves to the harshest conditions, sometimes even endangering their lives to ensure that our cities function smoothly. The term toxic masculinity has gained traction in recent years. However, it is critical to distinguish between true masculinity and harmful behaviors. Toxic masculinity refers to behaviors and attitudes that perpetuate negative stereotypes and harmful power dynamics. It is an important conversation to have as we strive for a more egalitarian society. Jordan Peterson emphasizes that being dangerous does not imply being cruel or harmful towards others. Drawing inspiration from a statement in the New Testament, he highlights the significance of possessing strength and the ability to wield it, but also knowing when to be peaceful. This order of power, formidability, and then peace is crucial. In contrast, Jordan Peterson criticizes the encouragement of young men to be naive, weak, and harmless. Being stoic and emotionless is an unrealistic and detrimental expectation of manhood. It leads to an inability to cope with life's tragedies and evade responsibility, ultimately resulting in bitterness and, in turn, potential danger. The idea that men are meant to be dominant is debunked, with the speaker asserting that submission is a more appropriate approach. Peterson acknowledges that the truth can be unsettling and cause conflict, making people fearful of revealing it. However, the greater fear should be reserved for falsehood. Weakening men does not make them safer. On the contrary, it renders them vulnerable and more likely to act deceitfully or betray others when given the opportunity. Safety is achieved by cultivating strength and discipline in men. Jordan also draws a comparison between powerful dogs and men with aggressive and fearless temperaments. Just as discipline is necessary for a powerful dog to prevent it from becoming a monster, men with similar. The concept of allowing people to take care of themselves versus promoting the idea that men should be dangerous is an important distinction. When we talk about men being dangerous, it does not necessarily imply that they should be ready to threaten or harm others. Rather, it suggests that men should have the capability to be dangerous, but that does not mean they should utilize that power. Without this capability, there is nothing commendable about one's self-control. Merely avoiding violence does not equate to virtuous behavior if one lacks the capacity for violence in the first place. This is a principle well understood by those who teach martial arts. When learning a martial art, individuals acquire the ability to be dangerous while also mastering control. These two qualities go hand in hand, resulting in virtues such as discipline and self-restraint. Failing to grasp this concept leads to the misconstrued notion that weakness is synonymous with moral virtue. Believing that one is good simply because they are harmless showcases a misunderstanding of the nature of goodness. In reality, harmless individuals are simply weak and, consequently, incapable of embodying true goodness. It takes strength to be truly virtuous, and it is a challenging endeavor. Attempting to address the fear of male power by intentionally crippling men is one potential solution, although an ineffective one. This approach arises when the patriarchy is viewed as a tyrannical force. Reflecting upon history, it becomes evident that our past is filled with instances of atrocities such as slavery, genocide, war, and oppression. Everyone bears responsibility for these horrific events. Peterson argues against the idea that all hierarchical structures are corrupt and patriarchal. stating that many hierarchies in the Western world are as equitable as they can be. However, he acknowledges that if one believes in the corrupt nature of these hierarchies, then anyone aspiring to climb them would also be seen as corrupt. Peterson goes on to explain that if young men confuse ambition and competence with a drive for power, they may believe they are contributing to the supposed tyranny of the patriarchy. This confusion can lead to a punitive treatment of virtuous young men, as they are erroneously punished for their ambition and desire to be competent. Peterson suggests that this critical process is driven, in part, by a deep dislike for competence among those theorizing about the tyrannical patriarchy. According to Peterson, there is a misconception that a harmless man is a good man, when in reality, a good man is someone who has the capacity for danger, yet can control it voluntarily. He shares a personal anecdote about giving a speech at a friend's wedding, where he discussed his own journey toward feeling secure in his masculinity. Peterson reveals that 3 key factors contributed to this transition: learning how to fight through Brazilian jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, developing a sense of humor, and participating in competitive sports. Overall, Peterson is critical of the notion that all hierarchical structures are inherently unjust and patriarchal. He argues that competence and ambition should be encouraged, as they can lead to positive outcomes when under control. The confusion surrounding power and virtue can negatively impact young men and perpetuate a harmful narrative of the patriarchy. In reflecting on my past experiences, I realized that I used to feel the need to put on a tough facade when interacting with others. I would constantly posture and pretend to be someone I wasn't. Deep down, I knew that I possessed physical strength that exceeded that of most people I encountered. This understanding gave me a false sense of superiority and power. However, I soon came to understand that physical strength alone was not enough. I began to question whether I could handle facing death in combat situations. Would I be scared? Would I exhibit cowardice? These anxieties plagued my mind. Nevertheless, when I eventually found myself in combat, I surprisingly discovered that I was not afraid. I accepted the possibility of death and made peace with it. An important turning point in my life came when I got married and had children. Suddenly, all the aggression and the desire to dominate others took on a new meaning. It became about protecting and providing for my family. I realized that controlling aggression was not the goal. Instead, I needed to integrate it into my life. Just as you should not suppress sexual desires, you should not suppress the capacity for danger. It is essential to have the potential for harm, but using it must be limited to necessary situations. Being harmless is not virtuous. It implies ineffectiveness. It is crucial to communicate to everyone, not just men, that they have a significant and vital role to play in their communities. By acting properly, honestly, and with integrity, individuals can rebuild their lives, support their families, and contribute to the betterment of their communities. Personally, I hold a deep admiration for men. I believe men are wonderful, and I have no animosity towards them. However, I do feel that women often place unreasonable expectations on men.